Let's see. Okay, it says on Riverside that we are live. Okay. Okay. I think let's see. Yep, we're good.
This flow.
Oh.
So 2 gone for an economical Brian Bale in the top of the fourth.
You still watching the Rangers? Is that the Rangers in the background?
Yeah. But we'll get into it. All right, here, let's pause for like 10 seconds and then we'll go.
Okay.
Hello and welcome to another. Okay, let's try this again. Here we go. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Making the Call. We are continuing our month of division previews for this upcoming NFL season. Last week, we covered both East divisions, AFC and NFC. And then this week, I've got Alex with me, and we're going down south. And we're going to be previewing the AFC South and the NFC South. But of course, we will start with our one big headline. Before we get into that, I just want to remind everyone, make sure you are subscribed to the podcast, whether it's on Spotify or Apple or wherever you get your podcast, preferably Spotify, because we actually have video podcasts on Spotify and only on Spotify. But you can also watch the video version live on YouTube. We're live right now. We typically record around 7 p.m. on Monday nights, and then the podcast comes out early Tuesday morning is kind of our official schedule. So we have links to subscribe to all of those things down in the description of this episode. So go and do that. Follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, all the things. Join the Discord where Alex and Rosie are constantly posting their bet slips. It doesn't matter if it's a weekday or a weekend, but make sure you are plugged in there, especially as we move into the NFL season. All right, let's start with our one big headline. Alex, what do you have for us this week?
So my one big headline starts with a little bit of a tease, because I was gonna go with the Seahawks. The Seahawks look like they're back, but we're gonna save that for the West Division preview and all that, because the neighbors have brought me back. You know, that meme, just when I thought it was out, they dragged me back in. Thursday night, we start out with a walk-off win to escape a terrible sweep against the Tigers. We played like crap in those first 2 games, but then this weekend, the pitching really stood out. 1 earned run the whole series. The starters did not give up a single earned run. Oh, wait, no, sorry. The starters did give up 1 earned run. That was Luis, who gave up the home run in last night's game. And then finally, to just cap it off, they were on Sunday Night Baseball yesterday for the first time since 2004. And they just played pretty awesome, 12-1. Like, I was betting the under. I thought it was going to go under. We were going to win like 2 or 3-0, like we do, which it was trending that way. But then, you know, the Mets sort of fell apart, started throwing meatballs all over the place. But I'm back. I'm ready for the playoff push here against the Astros. If you're a Rangers fan and you want to hop on over to the bandwagon, I mean, you can't let that team down south take the division. Come on, guys. The bandwagon is open. Feel free to join. But yeah, go Mariners.
Yeah. No, I mean, it was an impressive weekend by the Mariners. You know, it's going to be a tight division race.
Oh, yeah.
And the division race is really between Houston and Seattle, and we'll get into that in my thoughts on the Rangers, because the Rangers are actually my one big headline for this week.
Yeah, I saw that. That's cool.
But it's I'm rooting for the Mariners. That I think I'm adopting the Mariners as my team, which, you know, at least for the postseason run, and certainly to beat out the Astros for the division.
Of course, can't let that happen.
And you know, I don't think there's 2 teams from the AL West who make the playoffs.
No.
And so I would love to see the Mariners get in and send Houston packing.
I think
So
right now, as it stands, the Mariners and the Astros are 2.5 games back of the last wild card spot.
okay. Yeah, but it's a log jam. You look at the wild card spot and it's all right. Hold on, let's take a look here. I mean, Baltimore and New York, they both are tied. But so if you look at the AL wild card, one of those two teams is going to win the division. One of the two teams is going to win or is going to get likely the top wild card spot, and then it's Minnesota, Kansas City, Seattle, Boston, and Houston. They're all competing for 2 spots. So it's going to be fun. Which that's a good segue into my one big headline, because my one big headline is that I have officially given up on the 2024 Texas Rangers in terms of playoff hopes, division hopes, all the hopes. I'm done
next year.
Yeah.
Reload. Maybe you'll make a signing or two.
World Series hangover, a lot of injuries, a lot of players just, falling off a cliff compared to last year.
They went from like career years to sort of falling back to the mean too. That's just sort of the way of baseball sometimes.
Yeah. Well, I've got a visual for you, Alex. Are you interested in a visual?
Sure. Like a slideshow?
Not a slideshow, but I do have a chart. So this is why I mentioned earlier, you need to be watching the podcast on Spotify. So if you're currently listening on Apple, head on over to Spotify. Timestamp it, whatever. And let's go on a journey here. Let's see.
Statcast journey.
Statcast. Well, not Statcast. This is actually an Andrew original. I put this chart together myself.
Dang.
So what this is OPS plus. And it's, each individual player on the teams in the American League that are still vying for a playoff spot.
Yeah.
And I took those players on their OPS plus and put them into various buckets. And so you can see the buckets over here on the right-hand side, less than 70 all the way up to 140 plus. And let me see if I can let's see. You think I can make the font a little bit bigger? I might be able
on the
to.
Screen.
Yeah. I'll cut all this and I'll get back into it. Guess I should have done this before. Come on. Axis. Maybe chart style. Here we go. Default label.
Did you watch any of the Cowboys game yesterday?
Like none.
Yeah, it was tough. It was a tough watch.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie.
Did that work? No, that didn't really do anything.
There it is.
There we go. All right, so that's horizontal axis. Let's go vertical axis. 24. And then let's go legend. 24. Okay. All right. Let me give myself a little beep and then we'll keep it going. Beep. All right, okay. That's better. So you can see kind of what each color means, but basically what I wanted to look at is of the American League teams that are still trying to either get in the playoffs, whether it's win the division or make the wild card. The 4 teams I excluded from this would be Toronto, Tampa Bay, or actually 5 teams: Toronto, Tampa Bay, LA, Oakland, and Chicago White Sox. If we look at these, there's really a few things that stuck out to me. And the first one is, hold on, where were my notes here? Anyways, I don't know where my notes were, but if you look at this, this is going great. Look at the number of players on each team with an OPS plus of over 140. And so to kind of explain OPS plus for those who don't know, it is you look at OPS for every player in baseball.
Yep.
And it kind of puts them on a scale. So 100 is perfectly league average. If you have an OPS plus of 110, that means that you are 10% better than league average. If you have an OPS plus of 90, you are 10% worse than league average. So it's kind of percentage points. Texas has one player that's 140 plus, and that's Corey Seager at exactly 140.
Nice.
Seattle has 0, which should not surprise Alex or Mariners fans because Seattle has got
pitcher. Yeah, they follow
all
like
pitching.
pitchers the same way. Yeah, it's all pitchers.
It's all pitching. Cleveland has 2 players, and both of those players are at exactly 140, and that's Jose Ramirez and Stephen Kwan. All the other playoff hopefuls here, which you could kind of exclude Detroit from this. I think that would be fair. But all the other playoff hopefuls, they have, 1, 2, 2. But
Minnesota's got a lot.
Minnesota has a lot. But here's the interesting thing, Alex, is that all these other, because I mentioned Corey Seager's at 140 and the 2 guys for Cleveland are at 140, but all the other teams, their guy is like smashing through that ceiling. Like, they're all actually for Baltimore, Boston, Kansas City, New York, Minnesota, all of those, the guys they have that are above 140, they're actually above 160 and on. And Aaron Judge, I think, is at like 212 or something. So
yeah, he's ridiculous.
Even though Seager's been good, he has not been anywhere near on the same level of a Gunnar Henderson, a Bobby Witt Jr., even a Rafael Devers for Boston. So they've
pretty
missed
much
that.
what he was doing last summer, the second half Seager.
Exactly. Texas also has so I had 3 big takeaways. Texas also has 3 players that are 110 plus, so they're 10% or better. Seattle has 1, Houston has 3, and then everyone else has more. If you exclude Detroit from this, Boston has more. Baltimore, Cleveland, Minneapolis, or Minnesota Twins. Minnesota, not Minneapolis. Minnesota Twins. Everyone else has more outside of the AL East teams. And then finally, Texas has 3 players that have an OPS plus below 80.
Boo.
Tied with Cleveland and Kansas City for the most. Cleveland has 3. Kansas City has 3. Even Seattle, we've talked all about their offensive woes. They don't have anyone below 80. They have a bunch of people between 80 and 89, but they don't have anyone who's, below 20% of league average for OPS. So I saw this and it was just, I don't know. I kept holding out hope that the Rangers would make the playoffs and win the division, but I look at the teams that they are going up against, and especially the teams that they would be facing in the playoffs, and you just look at it and it's like, they're not in the same stratosphere as these other teams. They're not a New York or a Minnesota or even Kansas City. They haven't had the offensive production as these other teams. So I'm out. I'm done. I've given up. Yeah.
That's fair. Yeah. You had a good run.
Hey, we won the World Series.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Can't be too sad.
All right. Let's get into the AFC South. Let's run through last year's standing. So Houston won the division at 10-7. Jacksonville was at 9-8. Houston was the only team who made the playoffs. So you had Houston at 10-7, Jacksonville at 9-8, Indianapolis at 9-8, I believe. Let me see here.
9-8 or 8 or 9.
Yeah, 9-8 for Indianapolis, and then 6-11 for Tennessee. Notable changes for these teams. Houston, one of the biggest moves of the offseason, they traded for Stephon Diggs. They also traded for running back Joe Mixon, gave him a 3-year contract. They signed defensive end Daniil Hunter, and they signed running back Cam Akers. I mentioned Cam Akers just for our friend Rosie, if nothing else, just for Rosie. Jacksonville signed defensive end Eric Armstead, and they drafted wide receiver Brian Thomas Jr. out of LSU. Indianapolis, they're getting Anthony Richardson back from injury. They signed defensive tackle DeForest Buckner, drafted defensive end Leatu Latu, and drafted wide receiver Adonai Mitchell. And then Tennessee fired Mike Vrabel as their head coach, hired Brian Callahan to be their new head coach, signed running back Tony Pollard, signed cornerback Chidobe Awuzie, signed wide receiver Calvin Ridley, traded for cornerback L'Jarius Sneed, drafted left tackle J.C. Latham, and drafted defensive tackle Tavondre Sweat. I've got a question for each one, Alex, that I want to pose to you. We'll start with the team who won the division last year, who made the playoffs in Houston.
Yeah.
Do you consider the Texans to be true contenders in the AFC this season?
Like with the whole thing, not just this division?
Like they're a contender to win the AFC.
Yeah, I think I got them in there with the Bills and the Chiefs. Just because second year was C.J. Stroud. C.J. Stroud's going to have all his weapons again, plus more. Like that continued development. I got to look at their schedule. I'm going to pull that up, but I'm sure it's going to be a little bit more tough since they won the division last year. But overall, yeah, I got them in the contender category.
So would you put them third kind of in the hierarchy for the AFC behind Kansas City and Buffalo then?
I just remembered the Ravens, though. So
you got the Ravens. You've got, whatever you think about the Jets.
Not the Jets. No, the Jets aren't in there.
Okay.
Sorry.
Potentially
Cincinnati. So I think they're probably pretty close to the Ravens, depending on how much better their defense is also pretty young. So how much better that develops, I think they're pretty close to what the Ravens are.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I think they're contenders. I kind of think of them as kind of how we felt about the Lions this time last year, where the difference between these two is Houston already won a playoff game. They beat Cleveland and Joe Flacco in the wild card round this past season, and they lost to Baltimore in the divisional round. So they've already gotten a playoff win under their belt, in the CJ Stroud, D'Amico Ryan era, but everyone was hyping up the Lions this time last year and saying, the Lions, this is their year. They're going to make the playoffs. They're going to be really good. Dan Campbell, this offense, it's going to be really legit. And it was they won the division. They made it to the NFC Championship. And they lived up to the hype. And I kind of see Houston being that team this year as the young up and coming team. I know it's, they've added some veterans in the offseason with Diggs and Mixon, but I think CJ Stroud is legit. I think he is awesome. Yeah. I'm not going to put a ceiling on a team with him as quarterback.
Oh, no doubt.
Yeah. All right. For Jacksonville. So 2023 was obviously a very disappointing year for them. Do you think that they can rebound this year and sneak into the playoffs?
I think you're having internet issues. I didn't really hear that question.
Okay. I think I'm
cut out.
I think it might be on your side. Let me see.
Me or you, yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Right now it's working, so just redo it.
Okay. All right, let's just go. Here we go. All right, my question for Jacksonville. 2023 was a very disappointing season for them. We don't have to rehash that, but do you think that they could rebound this year? Because I went through their moves. Really, the team is largely the same. They lost Calvin Ridley. They drafted Brian Thomas to replace him. And they signed Arik Armstead, the defensive end. So do you think they can rebound this year and potentially sneak into the playoffs?
Yeah, I think so. Just predominantly because I think Trevor Lawrence is probably due for a bounce back if he truly is the guy. I like the Brian Thompson addition. He was pretty good at LSU. I think he'll replace Calvin Ridley nicely there. Didn't have to spend a big buttload of money to keep him too. I just sort of you were surprised they didn't make any more moves because not re-signing Calvin Ridley probably meant you had some money in the bank, and I guess they just spent it all on Armstead. But other than that, we'll see, I guess. But I'm gonna bank on Trevor Lawrence bouncing back and that they squeak into the playoffs as like a 9-win team.
Okay. Yeah,
They start out with the Dolphins. That'll be a fun first game.
Yeah, they might still make the playoffs. I don't know if I would bet on it.
They have a tough first 4 weeks. You got Dolphins, Browns, Bills, Texans. Bills and Texans on the road out the gate.
Oh,
Crap. I don't like my bet now.
they could be 0-4 or 1-3.
They can get through that though. But if they can get through that like 3-1, then they're going to be feeling themselves. So it's either or.
Yeah, I mean their schedule for a team that missed the playoffs last year, like the NFC opponents that they'll face is the Bears, which it looks like that Bears is in maybe London. The Packers, so they got the North. So Bears, Packers, Lions, Vikings. Then they also go on the road to Philly. I think my thing with Jacksonville is it's like they were really disappointing, and I don't know how much better they are this year than they were last year. So it's like if I'm trying to think of how they're going to improve, like in your mind, what do you think has to go right for Jacksonville to rebound and get into the playoffs? What are kind of the key things that would need to break their way?
Trevor Lawrence just plays like an elite top 5 quarterback, which he's never done in his career. And the defense, if you get that to Trevor Lawrence, the defense just needs to be like league average. Get off the field when they can. Get him the ball as much as possible. But the whole thing runs through Trevor.
Yeah. So they gave him a new contract this offseason. He was like one of the quarterbacks who got paid this summer. It was him and Tua notably were the big ones. Yeah, I feel like the talent's there, but we just kind of haven't seen the on the field production that you would expect from him.
Sort of prove it year for them, even though I guess they already paid him. So
yeah, it's proven in the sense that like if he has another disappointing year this year, and I'm not putting all of 2023 on his shoulders, it certainly wasn't all his fault, but if he has another disappointing year, it's like, ooh, is this contract going to be viewed in the same light as like Daniel Jones contract that New York gave out?
Start getting chopped a bit.
Yeah. All right. So for the Colts, so I think the Colts, barring another injury to Anthony Richardson, are a lock to snag one of the wild card spots in the AFC. Am I crazy?
I'm be honest, no, but I'm also gonna be honest. I'm not really privy on the Colts right now. They're one of the teams I didn't follow really at all last year after Richardson's went down.
Yeah. Well, I think it's more so like they're getting Anthony Richardson back.
Yeah.
Shane Steichen is a good coach. Like Richardson went down week 3, week 4 of last year, and the team still went 9-8. Still had a winning record. And you expect, if Richardson is healthy, like Richardson was really good when he played, and you're going to be getting hopefully a full season Jonathan Taylor. Like I think this offense is going to be really good. And you think about what they did in the draft, like they drafted Leatu Latu as their defensive end. They signed DeForest Buckner, so they're beefing up their defensive line. I don't know. I think the AFC South is going from one of the, 2 years ago, it was probably one of the most boring divisions in football.
Yeah.
And now I look at it and it's like, all right, you got the Jags that are kind of frisky. You got the Texans who are really good. You got Richardson and the Colts. And then and we're going to get into them, but you've got, Will Levis and these new Titans. And it's like, I'm going to be watching a lot of the AFC South this year, and it's going to be by choice. Like I'm really eager to see how this division shakes out.
Yeah, good point. What's their win total? Like probably 7.5. Colts.
Ooh,
7.5 feels right.
Let me see.
Although
Specifically for the Colts.
Yeah. They didn't win 9 games last year, so it might be 8.5.
So their win total 8.5.
Yeah, okay. I wish it was 8.
So they're at 8.5. The Texans are at
10.5.
9.5. You got a little juice on the 9.5 though if you're going to take the over. Jacksonville. Hold on, where's Jacksonville?
They're 8.5.
They're 8.5. Okay, and then Tennessee's probably what, 4.5?
I think they got them at 6.5.
6.5. Wow, it's higher
Yeah,
line than I
for
would have expected. Okay.
Tony Pollard.
All right. Speaking of the Titans, I guess this kind of answers it because we were just looking at their line, and their line was 2 wins higher than I expected. But is there a chance this Titans team could be better than people think? Like,
Yeah, I think they'll be sneaky. They added some vets, Tony Pollard, Ridley. Am I forgetting one? I feel like they added more than
they
that.
added Tony Pollard, Ridley, Cheeto Awuzie as a cornerback, L'Jarius Sneed they traded for, the stud cornerback from Kansas City. And then they drafted J.C. Latham to be their new left tackle, and they drafted Tavondre Sweat as their new D tackle. So they made a lot of personnel moves.
They like those moves, but I'm not sure about their new coach.
Yeah.
Like, if what's the old guy's name? I'm blanking on him.
Brian Callahan's dad.
No. The old Mike Vrabel. If
Oh,
Mike
Mike
Vrabel was
Vrabel.
still
Okay.
there with all these new toys to play with, like they were already pretty frisky with what he had last year. If he had this, I'd be way more bullish on the Titans as like a 8-9 win type of team. But with this guy, he's sort of got to prove it to me on the field. I just don't know anything about him.
Yeah, well, his dad's Bill Callahan, and he brought his dad in, I think, to be the new offensive line coach or something. And his dad had a long career in the NFL. I think I think Brian Callahan wasn't he the OC with Cincinnati before this? Yeah, he was the OC for the Bengals for the last 4 years. So that's where he's been.
So he's OC for the Titans now? He came.
I'm assuming so. Okay. I imagine he's going to be the play caller. Yeah.
We'll see,
all right. Fantasy storyline that you're interested in for this division. What do you got?
I put how can Diggs new locker room, can he sort of get back to like a bona fide number 1 option, top 20, 15 type of receiver? Like Diggs is a type of receiver or guy where the first couple of years you can sort of get away with his attitude and all his extracurricular stuff, but eventually that gets old. It wears on everybody around him, and he just doesn't perform as well. But I think right now you're in the sweet spot with Stephon Diggs. He's only 30 years old. I think he's got a couple more years in him. Let's see what happens. But with Stroud too and other weapons around him, I don't think he's going to be double teamed too often either, so that'll help.
Yeah. I think you could see kind of a prove it year from Diggs.
Yeah.
I think if I were to make the case for that, they restructured his deal, so it's only a 1-year contract now. They don't have any long-term money tied up to him. And let's be honest, he was a head case towards the end of his time in Minnesota. So that's why they were happy to move on from him. He was a head case towards the end of his time in Buffalo, and they were happy to move on from him. And it's like, normally teams don't just willingly move on from like a stud wide receiver, but it's happened with him twice. So I think the fact that they don't have any sort of long-term commitment to him, and you think about the fact that Houston already has Nico Collins, already has Tank Dell, they've got pass catchers. So it's like, if he's being a diva on the sideline, they're not going to deal with it. They're going to be like, okay, sure, go pout over there. We're going to go try to win football games,
Yeah.
So
basically just do your job type of year.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm interested to see how it goes, because I think either Diggs is going to return to being like top 5 wide receiver, or his time of being like fantasy relevant is kind of behind him, you know?
Yeah, I could see either or.
All right, my fantasy storyline is my guy Tony Pollard. I want to see, can he return to fantasy relevance? And I'm the qualifier I'm putting for this is top 15. Believe it or not, he was actually 15th. He was actually the 15th running back in half PPR last year, which did not feel like it because he was so inefficient in the red zone. But he was the 15th running back last year. That was coming back from his broken leg. The year before that, he was the RB7 in half PPR. And obviously, you don't put a lot of stock into preseason, but he looked good in the snaps he got.
It looked like he had a spurt back a bit.
He looked explosive. So I'm high on him. I think we're going to see kind of a resurgence from him this year. I really hope that is what we see. And it would be awesome if he could return. I know I put top 15, but honestly, if he could return to being like top 10 running back in fantasy,
yeah,
like good for him. I'm all for that.
He's definitely going to get the opportunities. So
yeah.
So it could happen.
All right. Favorite futures bet for this division. What do you have?
I don't even like it anymore, but feel bet. I'm going with the Jags over 8.5.
Why don't you like it?
Because I sort of looked at their schedule and those first 4 games, that's tough to start out with. But I guess you're the most healthy at the beginning of the year, so there's a positive. But yeah, feel it bet. Trevor Lawrence prove it year. Jags over 8.5. Get back into the playoffs, which is not part of the bet. They just have to win 8.5 or 9 games.
Could I interest you in? Because I wonder, like, if you're worried about that. I know on Bovada they've got like alt lines, so you could lay some juice. And if you wanted to say, like, even if you just wanted to lay a little bit of juice, you could say, over 7.5 wins. So they just need to get to 8 and 9, and it's minus 240. But
240, yeah, I'm just staying at 8.5.
Okay, all right.
240 is too much juice.
240 is too much. All right, my bet is this one's. It's a little out there. It's Austin accused me of just going chalk last week, and so I decided to have some dicier picks this time around, and so I'm going with Anthony Richardson to throw 25 plus passing touchdowns.
Whoa.
And 10 plus rushing touchdowns in the regular season, and it's 9-1 plus 900.
That should be higher. Should be like
12-1.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's 35 touchdowns for a dude who only played 4 games last season.
He played 4 games and he had 4 rushing touchdowns.
How many passing?
3.
Yeah, it's somewhat on pace, but
yeah,
it's gonna be tougher than it seems. It's not.
It's gonna be tough. I mean, that's why it's 9-1. But the way I view kind of these long shots is like, if there's, I think, a legitimate chance that it happens, then sprinkle a little money on it. Put $10 on it, turn it into 100. Now we're talking. So that's the bet that I like. All right, team tiers.
Mid, elite.
Houston AFC contender. Are we good with that?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll do that. I kind of want to put King of Mid for Jacksonville. Any issue with that?
Maybe just lump the Colts in with them. Right.
I kind of want to put the Colts as like young and frisky. Like, I'm more bullish on the upside with the Colts than I am for Jacksonville.
Okay, yeah, I can see that. They are pretty young.
All right. Young and frisky. That'll be the Colts.
Tennessee.
And then Tennessee. Oh, gosh. I don't know.
Sneaky. Put sneaky. Hanging around. They're going to be in a lot of games where they're just hanging around.
All right, we'll say hanging around.
That's sort of
Hanging
their
around
MO, though.
for Tennessee.
Yeah, they'll be in plenty.
All
of
right. Prediction for division order. So if we look at this division, Vegas has Houston as the favorite at minus 120. And then it's Jacksonville at plus 320 and Indianapolis at plus 330. So just behind Jacksonville, and the Tennessee at 10-1. I'm okay with putting Houston first. Are you?
Yeah.
Could I convince you to put Indianapolis second?
Just flip a coin.
Do you have a coin?
No. Dang it.
Okay, well, you can't propose.
Ask Siri. Ask Siri.
Wait, here we go.
So we'll go with.
I got it. It's a little
Okay.
It's a little pen, little lapel pen from whenever I went to Disneyland and built a lightsaber. Okay. For this, it'll be Indianapolis.
Okay.
This side will be Jacksonville. Okay.
Let's roll.
Indianapolis.
Alrighty.
All right.
Colts win.
So we're going Indy
First one.
second, Jacksonville third, Tennessee fourth. Okay.
I will say I don't think anyone in this division is really going to run away with it. I think it's going to be close year round. Maybe the Texans, if they just pop off, though. I don't think anyone. There's not going to be like a number one pick in this division type thing.
What does the Texans' schedule look like early on? Let me see.
I think they play the Bears week.
Colts, Bears, Vikings, Jaguars are their first four, followed by Bills, Pats, Packers, Colts.
Yeah, it's not terrible.
No, I'd say it's pretty average. Okay. Anything else on the AFC South before we go over to the NFC?
Nope, just Texans division to lose, pretty much.
Okay. The NFC South continued its run of mediocrity last season in the kind of post-Tom Brady era of the division. Tampa Bay won the division at 9-8. The Saints were also 9-8, but Tampa had the tiebreaker over them. Atlanta was 7-10, and Carolina was 2-15 in the 2023 season, and they turned their pick over to the Bears, who then selected Caleb Williams. Notable changes. Tampa Bay really brought most of their guys back. You know, they re-signed Baker. They re-signed Mike Evans. They did sign, re-signed Tristan Wirfs. They signed outside linebacker Randy Gregory. They drafted center Graham Barton. New Orleans signed wide receiver Cedric Wilson, signed defensive end Chase Young, drafted left tackle Talisi Fuaga, and drafted cornerback Kool-Aid McKinstry. Atlanta signed quarterback Kirk Cousins, hired Raheem Morris as their new head coach, signed wide receiver Darnell Mooney, traded for wide receiver Rondell Moore, and drafted quarterback Michael Penix Jr. And then Carolina hired Dave Canales to be their new head coach, traded away outside linebacker Brian Burns, traded for Deontay Johnson, signed defensive end Jadeveon Clowney, drafted wide receiver Xavier Legette, and drafted running back Jonathan Brooks. So we'll start with Baker. We'll start with Baker's Bucks, Alex's second favorite team. Was last year the ceiling for the Baker Mayfield-led Tampa Bay Bucks? Is that as good as it gets, or do you think they have another level that they can get to?
No, I think they have another level they can get to because they really didn't come on last year until the second half of the season. I think at one point they were 2-6, and then they finished 9-8. So if they can just sort of recreate that magic from last season, like use what they found there, the main key, keep the O-line healthy. That's been sort of a bugaboo for them. Keep Baker clean in the pocket, eliminate mistakes from him turning the ball over, and I think this team can be more like an 10-11 win type of team. Probably not like 12, but that I think they have one more step to go in this before they reach their ceiling, barring making more moves to really maybe go for the Super Bowl or whatever. But they're not a contender. but they're a solid division contender, if that makes sense. Like they're not an NFC contender, but they're definitely division favorites, or like them and the Saints or whoever you want to put up there.
Yeah. So last year they beat that lousy Philly team in the wild card round.
Yeah, that was great.
And then they went on and lost in the divisional round
The
to
Lions. It was a
the
great, really
Lions.
good shootout game. Baker ended up throwing an interception late, and the Lions won the game.
That's right. That's right. So I agree. Like Tampa Bay is going to fight for this division, and if I look at the division odds for the NFC South, Atlanta is the favorite at -130, and then it's Tampa Bay at +320, and the Saints at +390, and then the Panthers at 9-1. So I do think Tampa Bay can rival the Falcons, which we'll talk about the Falcons here in a little bit. But I guess if I'm thinking about their ceiling, they won a playoff game. Do you think they're good enough to win 2? Like, are they good enough
Yeah.
to advance to the NFC championship?
Yeah, because they literally had the ball and the opportunity to do that last year. They just made the mistake. So I think they can find themselves in that same situation. And after they win that game, it's just all matchups and luck and all that stuff. But yeah, I think they can get to the NFC Championship game.
Okay. Let's move on to the Saints. So they were also 9-8 last year. Is there a team in the NFL that is less interesting that's still going to win like 8 to 9 games than the Saints?
Maybe the Browns, but no, because we hate watch the Browns. So yeah, probably not. Which is shocking for a team from New Orleans to have such just a meh.
Yeah, I have no desire to watch a snap of New Orleans Saints football. None. Zippo. Like Derek Carr, really nice guy, rooting for him. But I have no interest in watching him dump off passes to Alvin Kamara and Rashid Shaheed and Marquez Callaway. Like I'm good. I'm good. All right. Let's talk about the Falcons, because I think the Falcons is probably one of the more interesting teams in the NFL, just because I'm curious, like what they're going to be, what they're going to look like. What are your expectations for the Kirk Cousins Falcons era, at least in year 1?
I mean, they'll probably be pretty good, but I'm just sort of frustrated that they put themselves in this Kirk Cousins Penix situation, because Penix is just dropping dimes in camp and in the preseason so far, and we're not even going to get to see that unless Kirk gets injured. Like it sucks for Penix. I feel bad for him, but I think he's a good quarterback. He's a great veteran. You give him enough time in the pocket, he'll make the right decisions. And I think the Falcons, rightfully so, are going to be right there with the Bucs to try and win this division.
Yeah. I'm really curious. Like, there's a lot of talk about what Aaron Rodgers is going to look like coming back from his Achilles injury, but I feel like there hasn't been nearly enough discussion about what Kirk Cousins is going to look like coming back from his Achilles injury.
I forgot about that injury because
people have just forgotten about it, and it's like
because Rodgers one is taking up all the publicity.
Yeah, but it's like Kirk Cousins was leading the league in passing yards when he got hurt last year, and he's not a spring chicken. Like, he's 35. He's going to be 36 in like a week, coming off of a torn Achilles. Like, I think he's going to be fine. Like, I think he's going to be great for Atlanta. Certainly he can't be worse than the QB situations they've had in years past. Definitely not. No offense to Desmond Ridder, but he was arguably like the worst quarterback in the NFL last year.
Now they have 2 different type of quarterbacks, like one rising prospect and one just polished product.
Yeah. So, I I think Atlanta should be the favorites in this division. I don't know if I would say that the gap between Atlanta and Tampa Bay is as vast as the betting markets say it is, with Atlanta being minus 130 and Tampa being plus 320. But I think Atlanta's going to be good. Like, I think they're going to hit the ground running from week 1.
Yeah, they'll have the easier schedule, at least. That'll be a major help.
Certainly. All right. For the Panthers.
Yeah.
What would you consider a success for the Panthers this season?
Win 5 games, probably. I mean, maybe just win 5-ish games and be sort of competitive in every other game. Try not to get blown out. Have Bryce Young show some real development, some real chemistry with the new receiver like Xavier Legette they just drafted. And I'm also sort of interesting once Jonathan Brooks comes back from injury, what he looks like, because he was really good at Texas before he got hurt or late in last college football season. But him, along with Chuba Hubbard, should be a good one too. And David Canales is a really good coach for Bryce Young because he was the Tampa Bay OC last year and helped Baker a lot. So I think what he did with Baker will really help Bryce Young sort of simplify what he's looking at on the field. But yeah, overall, just development is what you want to see from the Panthers here. They're not going to be maybe competing for a wild card or anything special like that. You just don't want to lose or win more than 2 games, pretty much.
So I'm assuming you haven't looked. What do you think Carolina's over-under win total is for this season?
I actually did. I saw all of them.
So you saw
4.5, right?
At
the bottom.
I see 5.5 on Bovada.
Sort of high though. Maybe it was 3.5.
I see 5.5.
All right, I guess Vegas just doesn't put anyone's win total that low, but that seems like a mountain to climb. That's the same win total as the Titans, and they're not as better team.
Wow. Yeah, when you put it like that, let's look at their schedule.
Because even winning
6 wins,
even winning 5 games, that's under the win total, but that's still probably an overall success because they didn't bring anybody spectacular in besides Jadeveon Clowney, I guess. But he's not a world record or anything anymore.
No, but they got, Deontay Johnson. They got Xavier Legette. So they got some more pass catchers. They're not relying on the corpse of Adam Thielen to be their go-to guy in critical situations.
Last year, though, I'm not gonna lie.
He was good at the first half of the season. Then he kind of fell off, but
true. He was the only speed, yeah.
So winnable games I see on their schedule. I think they could split against New Orleans.
Yeah.
They also play the Bears, the Commanders, the Broncos, the Giants, the Cowboys, the Cardinals.
A couple wins in there, maybe.
I think 5.5 is a good line because I bet they go 5-12. I think that'd be my prediction.
Yeah, and I'd view that as an overall success in year 2.
Yeah, I would too. All right, what's the fantasy storyline you're most interested in for this division?
Can Mr. Consistency keep it up? Can Mike Evans just continue to be that guy? He's always going to catch you a touchdown or 2, throw it up to Mike. Can he be a top 5 to 10 receiver like he has been since he's entered the league? Nobody talks about it enough, but he's just a beast. And if he does it a couple more years, he's an A1 first ballot Hall of Famer, no doubt.
Yeah. I think he's already a Hall of Famer, but yeah, if he keeps it up,
already a Hall of Famer,
first ballot.
But first ballot if he does this pretty much just one more season, probably. I think that'll be 10 years in a row of at least 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns. So
you go look at his position rankings in fantasy, and we'll do half PPR. Last year, 5th. 2022, 16th. 2021, 8th. 2020, 10th. 2019, 12th. 2018, 9th.
Yeah.
2017, 19th, so not that great. 2016 first, 2015 23rd, and then his rookie season he was 12th. Like,
Yeah, so 1 year he was outside the top 20.
yeah. That's amazing.
And then you didn't even mention all the different quarterbacks he went through too.
Oh
He
yeah,
only had
that's
Birdie
with
for like a year and a half, 2
uh-huh.
years. Just got Baker. Like,
He's crazy, dude.
he's just a baller. He just likes to play ball.
Yeah. I mean, people always say like Travis Kelce is like the most sure thing in fantasy, but I think Mike Evans is right up there.
I mean, if you even want to go back further, his college quarterback didn't even know what play he was calling. He was like, Mike, just go.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
leading, baby.
F it, Mike Evans is down there somewhere. Like that's been most of his
That's his
college
career.
and professional career.
Yeah, he's just a baller.
Yeah. All right. Mine is how many skill players end up top 24 at their position for the entire division. Okay. So we're talking
In
let's
fantasy,
remove tight ends because I don't think there's any. Well, actually, no, we can include tight ends.
yeah.
But for tight ends, let's make it top 15 because like it's very, very easy to be top 24. So top 15 for tight end, top 24 for running backs and wide receivers. If I put the line at like 3.5, are you taking the over or the under on that?
I think I might lean over because I think you might be forgetting a couple of players here. But continue. I'm going over, but make your point.
All right, so I don't know if I have a point. I'm just like I'm trying to talk this out. So I think Bijan is one of them.
Yeah, and then Mike Evans.
I think Mike Evans is another.
2.
Rashad White, probably.
Yeah, he was definitely top 10 in running backs last year.
Yeah, what was he last year? He was the RB 7.
Yeah.
So Rashad White. So that's 3.
You got to
So
put
then you would
Baker in
need-
there, though. Baker was number 10 last year.
No. I'm excluding quarterbacks. Quarterbacks.
Okay. Right,
Yeah.
skill position. Okay, gotcha.
So you would need one of
maybe
like
Godwin.
Drake London, Chris Godwin.
Godwin can do it.
Maybe Kyle Pitts. I don't know.
Yeah, Kyle Pitts with Kurt. Maybe.
Yeah, I think there's a chance you could get to 4, but
Kyle Pitts could be the guy to do it because he's a tight end.
Yeah. I think there's 3 that you feel really good about, and then after that, it's like,
Yeah, but if I got
know.
a solid 3, I think I'm definitely going over. We just need one more. We
Yeah.
just need Kyle or Drake, Godwin, someone on the Saints.
Okay.
Maybe Xavier Legit is just an absolute beast. I mean,
that'd be cool. I hope so for Panthers fans. I hope so.
Just for the on-field interviews afterwards for everybody.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. Okay. Favorite futures bet. What do you have?
Continuing on the Mike Evans trend, I just went with Mike to catch 13 or more passing TDs at plus 500. I think the only thing that would worry me about that is just him staying healthy.
So he was at 13 last year.
Yeah, and I think he missed a couple games last year too. So
no, he played all 17.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just need a couple games where he pops off.
So he's gotten 13 or more 3 of the last 4 seasons.
Okay. Vegas knows what they're doing, but
so
plus
all right,
plus 5-1, that's still pretty decent for
5-1. It's worth it.
Yeah,
certainly. Okay, I like that one. Mine's a little bigger odds. It's a similar type of line to what I had for Anthony Richardson, and it's Bijan to score 10 plus rushing touchdowns and 5 plus receiving touchdowns in the regular season, and it's plus 1100, 11-1 odds.
I think that one has a better chance of hitting than the Colts one, low key.
I kind of think so too.
If the coach knows how to use Bijan, that is a major key.
So he needs to repeat it. 10 plus rushing and 5 plus receiving. Last year with, one of the greatest threats to American democracy and Arthur Smith, he got 4 receiving touchdowns, but he only got 4 rushing. So he would need 1 more passing touchdown than he had last year, and he would need 6 more rushing touchdowns. I think he can do it.
Me too. I mean, the
I think he can
5
do it.
receiving touchdowns seems really low for just his
Yeah.
skill set overall.
Like basically, so can he get 1 receiving touchdown every 3
like,
games, basically?
Yeah. I mean, there could be one where he pops off with 2 there, and then you're pretty much set from there.
Yeah.
I think I might sprinkle some on that. Where'd you find it?
Yeah. Okay. All right.
I like it.
There you go. Team tiers for this. What would we say here for Atlanta?
Well, there's definitely they're not contenders. I'm not putting Atlanta in a contending section, I guess, but division favorites, just put that, because that's what they are.
Division favorites. Okay.
Yeah, we don't know enough about their whole team on paper to really put them above that.
Okay. Hold on. Let's take a quick pause from the team tiers discussion.
Okay.
I've got the Rangers game on in the background.
Okay.
So they're now down 3-1 to Boston. Here's how the bottom of the 5th has gone. It was 1-1 to start the bottom of the 5th. They walked the leadoff hitter, David Hamilton, and then Hamilton stole second. Okay, fine. So this was Tyler Mahle pitching. He was a starter. So he walks David Hamilton, then strikes out Yoshida and Ref Snyder. So now you got 2 outs with 1 runner on. Bochy comes out, pulls Mahle, replaces him with Andrew Chafin. They intentionally walk Rafael Devers, so that's 2 walks, but it was intentional.
Yeah. Dang.
Intentionally. So then he has a wild pitch. So Hamilton goes to third, Devers goes to second. Then they intentionally walk Connor Wong. So now you got the bases loaded with 2 outs. Okay.
3 intentional walks?
2 intentional walks.
Oh, okay.
2 intentional walks, 1 legitimate walk. Then they walk Rami Gonzalez to walk in a run to make it 2-1. Then they just walked in Danny Jansen.
5 walks.
5 walks, 2 of those intentional. 5 walks in an inning. And they just pulled Chafin.
That sounds brutal. I can't even imagine what the fans feel like just watching that.
It's in Boston. They're going nuts right now.
Okay. So yeah, they're okay.
Yeah. Anyways, all right. So Atlanta division favorites. I think Tampa Bay is like division hopefuls.
Division hopefuls, like veteran savvy, hanging around category, I guess. They're just solid.
Okay.
Put solid, maybe.
Okay. New Orleans, I'm gonna say
Of mid, they're just
king of kings of mid.
yeah.
Like they are the king of the kings of mid.
Just put goat of mid.
Yeah. Carolina, just want to see something.
Maybe just try not to get the number 1 pick again.
Don't
be
all
that.
caps. Don't trade your first round pick. How about that?
Yeah, keep that one.
Yeah. All right. Prediction for division order. Who do you have winning this division?
Screw. I'm gonna say the Bucks. Go with my guy. 3-1. Do we got to do the coin?
Should we do the coin or should we call someone?
Call Austin.
Okay. Let me call him.
Yeah, I think he's the one guy that might see my vision here.
Let's see.
Trent would laugh. Rosie's not a big Baker guy.
All right, what pod debate do I have to settle?
Hey, so we're trying to decide on division order for the NFC South. Alex says Tampa's winning the division. I say Atlanta. So we need a tiebreaker.
Yeah, Atlanta's winning the division.
Oh,
Come on, not even a thought.
not even a thought, huh?
Yeah, no. They got too many weapons. New coach
Kurt's gonna blow out his ACL.
is happening.
All right. It's settled.
I guess they
We
got
have
Penix.
Atlanta then. Thanks, buddy.
No problem.
Whatever.
Bye. What pod debate am I settling this time?
That was pretty good.
That was good. Okay.
that's
So we've
good.
got Atlanta.
Then the Bucks.
So then Tampa will be second.
Yep. Then the Saints and the Panthers. Unless
Okay.
you think the Panthers are just gonna jump the Saints.
I kind
You
of
know
think
what?
they're going to jump the Saints, but
Ooh.
I'm fine with doing Saints and then Panthers. I think that makes more sense.
But it'll be closer. Adjective closer than people think. Go Panthers.
Yeah, go Panthers. That's right. Okay. I think that's it. Anything else on the NFC South or just anything before we wrap up?
No, just sort of giddy for college football. Is 2 weeks from. Well, I guess if you count week 0, it's 1 week from Saturday. But there's only 4 games in week 0.
Yeah.
But college football is really 2 weeks away from Friday, which is cool.
Oh, it's so exciting.
I'm getting into the whole football mood again. Hard Knocks is actually sort of entertaining. The Bears look really good. We haven't done the North yet, but I'm excited.
I think we're doing them next week. I think we got the North next week.
I'm TBD on that because got a late flight back from Pittsburgh Sunday night, but we'll see if I have any energy left to pop onto that because it's going to be a contentious podcast.
Yeah, man.
A little tease.
Dude, I am excited.
You're not
for
going to
that
want to
one.
miss next week, folks. We got
No, you will
Rosie
not.
Trent round. I don't even know. Lost count. Lions versus Vikings.
Uh-oh, breaking news out of the NFC North.
What
Detroit
happened?
Lions running back Jahmyr Gibbs is being evaluated for a leg injury. Oh,
I
no.
assume like the severity is unknown or in
Yeah, we
cloud.
don't. That's really all we know.
You just
Oh,
got that?
gosh. Yeah, it was 40 minutes ago. Kyle Yates on Twitter.
All right, Kyle.
Jeez. All right, well, let's wrap it there. That's going to do it for this week's episode of Making the Call. Do we have are we going to have a Making the Call bets episode this weekend?
No, definitely not because I'll be out of town. But
that's right.
We're probably gonna start doing it Friday nights because we found out pretty quickly the Saturday morning time cap to do it is not a good idea unless you're getting paid for it. Like if I was on college football today or whatever, like yeah, I'd wake up and that'd be easy. But just doing this podcast, it's been tougher than we first thought.
Got it.
Saturday
Got it. Okay.
mornings are busy times. So we're trying probably Friday nights. We'll just post it like late Friday and it'll be there for Saturday.
All righty. All right. Well, the dad joke this week. My son can only memorize 25 letters of the alphabet. He said he doesn't know why.
That's a good one. Numbers joke.
There you go. All right. I hope everyone has a fantastic rest of the week, and we will see you next time.